Hello and welcome to a Tennessee Twos After Hours. We are going to be covering the Open at Belton tonight. Um, we're going to try to do these periodically anytime that there's no coverage throughout the weekend for Silver Series or so on. There will, however, be live coverage tomorrow. Um, now, not all Silver Series are going to get this, but we figured we would just keep everybody up to date, kind of
Yep.
as the magic happens. Uh, my name is Ethan Jenkins. This is my co host, Daniel Bacon. And yeah, we're just going to lead off and tell you a little bit about what happened. You want to go ahead and start us off there?
Yeah. Round one was a wild one. For anybody who hasn't seen, the coverage for that is actually already available on YouTube. The post-produced coverage, it's on DGN or DGPT's actual channel,
And
but that
it's,
should be available. And it was a windy one, and the wind took its toll on quite a few players. That is for sure. Round one kind of went like this. You had Chris Dickerson shot the hot round, 9 down. Um, and I had predicted that somebody would break double digits, and nobody did. Chris Dickerson came the closest. He wasn't able to get the birdie on 16 or uh, 14, which are some pretty decent opportunities that would have boosted him up into that 10. But he did play bogey free, and he's basically one of the only players who did play bogey free throughout the entire round. Um, we expected Paul Macbeth to come out and play hot. He's traditionally done pretty well at Belton, but he got hit by the wind bug a couple of different times. He took a triple bogey really early on, and was only able to get himself back to 2 under for the day, um, taking that triple bogey. It looks like it was on hole four. And that one's, it's a pretty tough one. Takes a double OB and then misses a putt, and that's all it takes out there.
yeah.
Belton is very similar in terms of how it plays to Waco, where you've got some really tight wooded fairways and then you've got some open holes. It's a little more open, I would say, than
Yeah.
Waco is, but it plays very similar. And it's a pretty good preparation for Texas State, I would say. But that's how the first day went down on the MBO side. On the FPO side, it was a little bit interesting. We had Alexis Mandujano, who came out and made a statement that said, "Hey, there's two sisters here, and we're both good at disc golf, right?"
Right.
So she came out, shot a hot round of 7 down, and Kristen Tatar didn't do too bad herself. She shot a 5 down. Holland Handley shot a 5 down, and Rebecca Cox also shot a 5 down.
Hmm.
And then you had Katrina Allen, Maria Oliva, and Kat Murch kind of holding up that back end of the chase card
Right.
for round two. So most of those players, if you were in the lead card or the chase card after day one, you played really well considering the wind. If I remember correctly, they were 23, 25 mile an hour sustained plus gusts, whatever those might have been. Moving into round two, conditions are much, much better today. On the FPO side, we had Katrina Allen taking down the hot round of the day at
Hmm.
8 under, and you had Lisa Fakis and Jessica Weiss taking up 7 unders, so just coming up a little bit short. However, those were to bring them back under par because they shot over par on
Right.
day one. So your actual lead card for day three, final day, is going to be Katrina Allen at 12 under, Kristen Tatar at 11, Maria Oliva and Holland Handley at 9 under. So that's your lead card. Your chase card has On Scoggins at 8 under. Both of the Mandujano sisters finished at 7 under. Valerie had to work her way back a little bit. She
Yeah,
didn't
she shot
have
a
such
pretty
a
good
great
round.
first day,
Hmm.
and she shot 5 down to bring herself to 7 under. Alexis kind of took a little bit of the other side, so she didn't play as well, but she didn't hurt herself too bad either. So she's not out of contention. She's also at 7 under. And then Lisa Fakis pulling up the rear of that chase card, I believe. You got a few players tied there at 3. I know that last spot on the lead card is going to go to PDGA number, and I don't know their numbers off the top of my head, but one of those 3 are going to be that final in. And then you've got a few more people up in that -5, 3, 2, and then
Yeah.
Kona did not play great round one. and she played a little bit better today. She looked a little more focused
Yeah.
from what I could see. She took a few bogeys, but she took more birdies than she did bogeys. So she played under par today and got herself under par for the tournament. So not going to do her a whole lot for this tournament. I think she might be just too far out unless our lead and chase cards just absolutely collapse. But it's good to see her on the underside of par right now,
Yes.
given how the last couple have gone for her.
I agree. 100%. I think that it'll help in general for Kona just to kind of have that maybe where she's not in the, not so much in the spotlight,
Yeah,
and just able to work on her game, get confident, get comfortable, and
absolutely.
bring in a top 10 finish and move on to Texas State's a little more confident.
Absolutely. As for MPO on round two, your hottest rounds ended up being Chris Dickerson, Paul Macbeth, Ricky Wysocki, and Chandler Fry, excuse me. All of them shot under par in double digits. Chris Dickerson with a 12 down, Paul Macbeth with a 12 down. That is the tied for hot round of the day. Ricky Wysocki came out with an 11 down, and Chandler Fry with the 10 down. So
Heck,
good on them. That kind of put all of them outside of Chris, who we'll talk about in a second. That kind of put all of them back in contention. Paul specifically really needed that to do something good. Rickie didn't have a terrible day, but he didn't have a great day either on day one, so he needed it as well. And now your lead cards and chase cards are going to be as follows. Your lead card tomorrow is going to be Chris Dickerson, Ricky Wysocki, Calvin Heimberg, and Emerson Keith or Chris Clemens. Again, I don't remember which one has a lower PDGA number. One of them will be
I
on the
can
lead.
tell you real quick.
And then your chase card's going to be one of those two: Paul Macbeth, Chandler Fry, and Bradley Williams. So you had a couple other pretty
It'll
decent
be
rounds.
Emerson.
Emerson. Okay, so
Yep.
Emerson's going to be your lead card, and Chris Clemens will be on your chase card.
Yep.
Um, Now, I don't want to discount their chances to win, but Chris Dickerson shooting the hot round in day one and tying for the hot round in day two gives him a 6 stroke lead,
Yep.
which is massive. Now, I do want to pull out that we have the weather. I have the weather pulled up for tomorrow, and they're going to be experiencing approximately 20-mile-an-hour winds tomorrow. So, similar conditions to day one, and we know that wind can take its toll on everybody out on the course. Um, but at the same time, I mean, 6 strokes, it feels almost unsurmountable. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't Ricky or Paul that we were talking about, I would say yeah. Um, Ricky is. eh, Everybody always talks about having to fend off Ricky or Paul.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's different. So if you never know what kind of mental state you'll be in if you lose 2 strokes early. You know what I mean? It's anybody's
Yeah,
ball game.
absolutely.
But I think if Chris goes out there, continues his game plan, and executes, I don't think there's no catching him. Especially, I would say by hole 10, if he's still got a 4 stroke lead, I believe that it's his in the bag.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. I mean, of the players who are up really in contention, he's pretty much the only guy who's gone bogey free, excuse me, for
Yeah.
both the first 2 rounds. And I don't know that that trend is going to continue. I kind of expect him to end up taking something tomorrow. Belton just is that kind of course. There's a couple of holes out there where you just know eventually that bogey is going to happen, but I don't think it's going to slow him down enough to really stop him. You know what I mean?
I will tell you
Um,
one thing that is helping Chris on these windy or conditioned days is he is kind of just fell in love with the force in general.
yeah,
Um, and the force is a wind fighter. It really is.
yeah.
So with that, and if you can be accurate and know when they're gonna fade, and it kind of seems like he's got those forces down pat. You know,
hmm
forces and undertakers. It's all he's throwing for distance right now.
And he's
So
throwing the onyx a lot too, as well,
and
for
he
like
started
those.
throwing the onyx a lot. Okay.
He's throwing some big Z's and some Z's out there. His big Z onyx is his more overstable one. And he's been throwing those for like needing that overstable, but doesn't need the force distance. Basically,
Right. Yeah.
has kind of been his go-to. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Undertakers out there in that wind.
Yeah.
They just don't fight it quite enough. Maybe if it was 10 to 15, but up in the 20s, probably see
That's
a
where
lot
that
of
Onyx
forces.
comes in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of forces and Onyx is and yeah, that's just his style right now,
Hmm.
and it's a good style to have, especially
It
coming
is.
up in this next swing of the tour because there's a lot of places where you're going to throw big hyzers or you're going to be
Hmm.
fighting wind. So he looks primed to do some good stuff continuing on, but I fully expect him to kind of hold down that lead tomorrow. Now, on the FPO side, it's a little bit closer,
It
especially
is.
from your lead card through your chase card. There's only um, 4 strokes of separation basically between your top player on the chase card and your lead card.
Yeah.
And on a course like that, where again, we're seeing basically, if you look at the stats, everybody's taking a bogey, um, except for Katrina Allen did not take any bogeys today.
Right.
So if she can go out there and do that again tomorrow, then she'll be clean and clear. But one of the things I think we need to consider is that she did not have such a great round in the windier conditions on the first day.
Yep.
It wasn't bad. It was still 4 under, but it definitely wasn't the 8 under that we saw out of some of the other players. So
Correct.
she's going to need to go out there and fight for that win, especially a lot more than Chris is going to need to.
Yeah. And I, it's just a matter of time before Kristen gets a win. She's been on podium every tournament so far this year. So
Yeah.
she's got to be, her and Katrina both have got to be doing very well on tour points. Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah,
I'd imagine
I would
they're doing pretty
imagine
well.
my guess is that both of them do get podium. Um, you know that first, second, third. Somebody may come in and have a hot round, but
Right.
I see both of them definitely being on podium tomorrow. What about you?
Yeah, the way that I'm pulling it out right now is I think one of the Mandahano sisters is going to take a podium finish along with Katrina and Kristen.
Yep.
Um, I'm kind of pulling for Kristen to get her first one of the season
Me
here.
too.
She's kind of had a couple of collapses over the last couple of events, and I think she really wants to clean that up just
And
for her
not
own
big
confidence at this
collapses at
point.
all. Nowhere near.
Yeah,
I mean, she's still got
just
second and third. So
yeah, we're
but
talking like just not quite where she wanted to be, and I think she's going to want to go out there and try to clean that up.
yep.
And in the wind, anything can happen. For all we know, all 3 of them could miss a podium, and we could see Owen, Maria, and Holland up there
Yeah, I
as
mean,
your
yeah,
1, 2, 3.
it's very possible.
Especially without that separation, like we talked about with Chris.
If
That's a big
own
thing.
spin putt is hitting, it's a dangerous field for anyone.
Yeah. All right. One more thing before we go. This isn't going to mean anything. This is just something fun for us to do real quick before we end it out. We've got the prize picks up for tomorrow's round, and we're just going to go through like 3 or 4 names. Keep in mind 20-mile-an-hour winds and
Yep.
what we've seen out at Belton, and the course par is going to be 60. Okay.
Okay.
Rickie Wysocki, his line is set at 52.
Under.
I want to take under as well. I think he can get 8 strokes
Yep.
at least. Um, Chris Dickerson, his over under set at 52.5.
Under.
I'm going to take under as well. I would be surprised, even if he takes a bogey, I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't take a 9 down at least tomorrow.
Yep.
Um, I mean, Kevin Jones, he's not really in contention right now, but we're going to talk about him anyways just because it's interesting. They have his line set at 55.5.
Um. uh, I'm going over.
Okay. I'm going to take under just because I want to do something different
Yeah.
than you. But honestly, I kind of agree with you. But
Yeah.
I'll take the under there. Brody Smith, 56.5.
Under.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a
If it
pretty
was
easy under as well.
56, I would probably take the over, but 56.5, I would take the under.
Yeah, and he
Oh.
didn't do too bad. He's got such a
He's
good power
consistent.
arm.
I think he's went 3 down, 4 down. I think
Y-
he can get it.
Yeah. And he's got such a good power arm. He can use those overstable discs all day and
Yeah.
still reach the basket on most of these holes. So he's going to have putts. It's just about how many he makes, right?
Right.
All right. Well, that takes up our 15 minutes right there. Thank you
Yep.
guys so much for joining us on this first segment of Tennessee Two's After Hours. We hope to keep doing this. And it's not going to be every week, but it is going to be something that we continue to do anytime that we have stuff that we either were not able to cover in our time limits of the regular podcasts or stuff like Prize Picks. Every now and again, their
Hmm.
lines don't come out until after we've already recorded our podcast, and we might want to talk about those throughout some of the Elite Series events and stuff like that. So, with that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Daniel and Ethan signing off.
Peace.